Stage 6 of the Amgen Tour of California. The riders leaving Palmdale after the day of the time trial the previous day, heading now for Big Bear Lake. We were in the mountain country now, a ride of 186 kilometers. The new leader was Dave Zabriskie of the USA.
And immediately after the start, after just 1.5 kilometers, a breakaway of 7 riders got clear. But most importantly, Phil, in that breakaway were 2 riders who were challenging out for the King of the Mountains classification, David Boilly and Sebastian Salas.
They had battled all day in the mountains, advantaged the overall lead in the Nissan King of the Mountains, Sebastian Salas. He scored most on the mountains, but with all of the point-scoring mountains behind, he was falling back into the main field. But one man wanted to carry on. He joined the small breakaway group, 3 of the 7 going forward. This was the last climb of the day on Californian Highway 18.
For Kiwi, Jeremy Fennell looked a little bit too hard, and now all of a sudden everybody was finding it much too hard at the back end of the pack. David Boilly, who was 2nd overall in the King of the Mountains, decided he'd call it a day. But it was all about, with 50 kilometers to go, the brave move by these 2 riders. At the back there, Sylvain Georges of France and AG2R, and Sebastian Salas, wearing 132, was hoping to get the final maximum points in the King of the Mountains classification for the day and seal a victory in that competition.
He started the day, Sylvain Georges, 2 minutes 52 seconds behind the leader. His lead at one stage with the group had been over 8 minutes, but the group were now closing in. The long last climb of the day before the steady undulations would take them down, or indeed up, to Big Bear Lake.
TJ Van Garderen there, keeping a very close eye on the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie, hoping that it would be his at the end of the day tomorrow. But the breakaway and the move as they got to the top was still surviving by 4.5 minutes over the main field. Sebastian Salas, the leader in the King of the Mountains, getting himself maximum points there and really now sealing his lead in that competition. The main field were a long way behind.
Thumbs up from Sebastian Salas. Probably he's done enough now to win this competition, even though there's one more mountain stage still to come. At 46 kilometers to go, though, and done his job, he was waiting for the rest of the race, and that left Sylvain Georges rather isolated. He had no choice now but to go for gold on his own, and he still had 45 kilometers to ride.
Well, he was very surprised when the leader of the King of the Mountains sat up and left him with 45 kilometers to go with a solo ride to the finish. But he decided to do the job in hand, and a man who hails from the Puy-de-Dôme region of France continued to build an advantage over the peloton, which all of a sudden found the alarm bells ringing, because this Frenchman looked like not only might he steal the day, but also the overall lead.
Back to the pack went everybody else from that erstwhile breakaway. At the top of that last climb, Sylvain Georges had a gap of 5 minutes and 5 seconds over the field. Now he had to try and maintain some of it if he was to win the stage itself. The day wasn't as hot as the past 2 days, where temperatures had topped 38 degrees Celsius. It had cooled dramatically. It wasn't even hitting 30 degrees anymore. And then there was an attack from the field which started the reactions. It was coming from Peter Weening of the Orica Green Edge team.
It was a very well-timed move and put all of the main field on the back ledge, but the most amazing thing was behind, another rider decided to come out of the gap. And this guy, Wilco Kelderman, a very good 21-year-old from Team Rabobank, decided that he was also going to try and create the surprise on a day like this. The 2 would eventually get together, but they couldn't eat into the advantage of Sylvain Georges, who still had 4 minutes and 10 seconds over the main field, with the time distance to the finish reducing every time.
Just 22 kilometers left, and now down to 18. The 3 riders got together. Jeremy Fennell was coming back from the original breakaway and saw these 2 come past him, and he jumped in. So there were 3 riders trying to organize the chase, and they were closing in now on the leader. He had 4 minutes, though, over the field, and this must have been a welcome sight. This is Big Bear Lake. We go right around the lake, and then we climb up to the finish. There was still 13 kilometers to go.
But as he went through the final sprint point of the day, when he went through Fawn Skin, he still had an advantage of 3 minutes over the main field. But the 3 chasers were eating into his lead, and they were not very much more than a minute behind him. But at 2 kilometers to go, the peloton pulled back the 3 chasers, and a little bit of confusion may well have given the advantage to the lone leader.
It looked for a moment that he was going to be caught, and then an attack came from the field by Jens Voigt. They swept over the 3 pursuers. 1 kilometer to go for Sylvain Georges. It was still not certain he would win. win. And as he came up to the finish with hardly the strength to raise his arm, as he'd been in the lead for 184 kilometres, the pack was snapping at his heels. But he'd won for his team AG2R, their second win of the day on 2 continents. They'd also won with Sébastien Hinault in France, and that was their first 2 wins of the year. Peter Sagan cleaned up from the chasing group, and Peter Velits finishing in 3rd, pinched a 4-second time bonus, which moved him up to 4th place overall. But at the end of the day, there was no change overall. Dave Zabriskie had 34 seconds over TJ Van Garden. Gessink was 3rd, Peter Velits up to 4th, and Andrew Talansky down to 5th. But this is the man who goes into the big mountains tomorrow, still in the hot seat. Dave Zabriskie, 2 days to go.